injuries like Ben Van Sumeren, who's out for the season, when you have significant injuries, they will ultimately come out, usually from Schefter or Rap, because it's agents giving them the
Right.
information.
Where are you on Jalen Carter and the updates on him, and then kind of the timeline for expectations on that?
Yeah, I think he's not going to get suspended now, and I give a hat tip to Mike Florio for this. So
Yeah, someone put
give
that out.
Mike credit. Typically when they suspend people, it's going to be on a Monday, and the reason why is logistically because they want to get because everybody appeals and they want to get the appeal through and make sure the suspension is good for the weekend. So it's an indication that he will not be suspended. So that's good news for Eagles fan. He will be fined. I mean, there's no question he's going to be fined, and probably a somewhat significant fine, probably a game check or something of that nature. But just remember, he got paid last week. So people say it was like a suspension. Well, it wasn't like a suspension from a business standpoint. He got paid even though he didn't play. So my guess is they'll probably take away that game check. But for the for the fans' purposes, all they want to know is he going to be on the field. I think he's going to be on the field now. And then Nick got asked again about it. Will there be any team discipline? My guess is there won't be. Um, if they if they if they set him for a series or two, all right, maybe possible, but I think that is just a waste of complete time. I mean, that's
I'll say
nonsense.
this: anybody thinks that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to willingly sit Jalen Carter on the bench, I highly, highly doubt that.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't totally surprise me if he sat for a series, but I mean that's a complete PR move. That's a
I know, and it's
complete.
so collegey. That's what
It is very
come on. It's
collegey.
not, it's so collegey. They're
Yeah.
not going to sit Jalen Carter down. Now, I do think they got to get out ahead of with less veterans on the team. That you do want to make sure that the young players are maturing and understanding the moment. So we will see what ends up happening with that. Johnny Mac, good stuff there on Jalen Carter. I assume we'll get that news today, or just at least clarity. I don't think anything's going to happen, but I think it will at least come out. Jalen Carter is not getting suspended, and we'll know for certain on what's happening with him. John, next piece of business here, Landon Dickerson. Obviously, in my estimation, that's more concerning, for the long term than Jalen Carter is right now. What's the update on Landon? Do you have it? And when do you expect to know more if you don't have it yet?
No, Wednesday. Yeah, the Nick Sirianni doesn't give up any. But I will say, and this goes for Will Shipley as well. When injuries like Ben Van Sumeren, who's out for the season, when you have significant injuries, they will ultimately come out, usually from Schefter or Rap, because it's agents giving them the
Right.
information.
And they come out more quickly, right?
Yeah, because they're done for the season. And when it's more day to day, week to week, those injuries are not going to come out. Nick does not talk about injuries. That's his policy now. You can waste time and ask him questions about them, as some people do, but he's been very consistent about that now. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's that big of a competitive advantage, but until the injury report, the first practice report of the week, and that comes out Wednesday, where everybody has to have a designation. And obviously, you'll learn if they're practicing or they're limited. And then by Friday, you have to have the game designations. So, but the positive news is there's not definitive news on Landon Dickerson and Will Shipley. That tells me it is either day to day or week to week for both. Um, and by that, I mean they might miss a game, they might miss part of practice this week. In the case of Landon, of the two, I think Will is more likely to miss the game, but that's just pure speculation, and has more to do with Landon will play through anything if you let him. Basically, that's all that has to do with
And
it.
they got to kind of protect that player from himself a little bit, you think, John?
I think so, but yeah, it's the NFL. Everybody's hurt. Yeah. A lot of hamstrings, by the way.
I know, tons. It feels like those are just things that aren't going away, those hamstrings. But all right,
Well,
good
that's
stuff.
part of the preseason stuff.
Yeah.
That's part of the negative of the preseason because all of a sudden you don't have any ramp up here. And then saw Cashman get hurt last night. He's chasing Caleb Williams around going full bore, and he pulled up with a hamstring. Now he's probably going to miss 3 to 5 weeks. George Kittle, 3 to 5 weeks. Those things are nasty.
If Landon is not able to go, you're thinking Brett Toth. That's who it's going to be.
Yeah. If it's short-term absence, yeah. If it's long-term absence, like I said, they would consider moving Tyler Steen, but not for the short term.
What do you think of how Tyler Steen played in that week 1 game?
He was okay. I didn't see all that negative. I didn't see a ton great. I thought the Eagles weren't as good as they typically are in pass protection. I will say that, and that's his. He tends to be better as a run blocker before this season. Now, PFF gave him as a higher grade as a pass blocker, so I thought that was a positive because that's been sort of his Achilles heel. On the other hand, they gave Jordan a great run blocking grade and a poor pass protection, at least poor for him. Jordan Mailata. But overall, the Eagles gave up a lot of pressures, man. A lot of pressures, more than you would expect. And Landon played poorly because he's hurt. That's another thing. It's like he's not playing like himself.
Right.
So another reason why I would consider, maybe taking a break. But he's such a good player, their assumption is, well, if we have him out there at all, he's going to be better than the alternative. And that's probably true, but he did not play well, especially as a pass blocker. And that's probably because his back is hurt, would be my guess.
We'll see what they end up doing there, Johnny Mac. John, good stuff as they get ready for this game, week 2, and already some attrition in the NFL. That's always a big part of the league, and we'll have to keep our eye on that. John, just real quick comments on the game last night I wanted to get to. Just your thought. I know we've talked a lot about that NFC North, and the Bears, I thought for a second, I'm like, hey, maybe they are going to be better. Maybe I was on to something, and then they didn't look so hot that second half. What'd you make of the game last night between the Vikings and the Bears, the J.J. McCarthy Bowl and the Ben Johnson Bowl?
Yeah, well, same thing. Tale of two halves. I mean, Minnesota looked awful. I mean, the first half, J.J. McCarthy looked completely lost to the point you're like, that team could have had Sam Darnold. They could have ran it back. They could have said, all right, he's too expensive. We'll elevate Daniel Jones, who played the great first game for Indy. They could have had Aaron Rodgers, who had 4 touchdowns. And wanted to play with them. And they said, nope, we want J.J. McCarthy. And I'm watching that game, and I'm like, woof, this is, Kevin O'Connell's reputation is going to take a hit. That was his decision. And I overall, and I'll be interested to see the grades. Overall, he did not play well. People are going to say, oh, and I've already gotten it because I tweeted a couple things
comeback.
about how
I agree.
poor he looked. He did not play well, and he's got a long way to go. And I don't think that team's going to be relevant this year because he's just not good enough. Chicago, boy, Caleb Williams, such an interesting player. I mean, that dude, you can see why he's the number 1 overall pick. I mean, he's making plays that few people can make early in that game with his legs, scrambling. They could not tackle him. He was dead to rights a couple times. He got out of it. Amazing physical talent. But as you get in the game and Brian Flores, very tough defensive coordinator to deal with. You're going to get a lot of disguise, a lot of different looks. Once he picked up the pressure in the second half, Williams looked lost again. Boy, processing is such a big part of it. Obviously he's got the physical talent, and he's already better because Ben Johnson's there. But he's got a long way to go. He started, I think, 10 of 10, and then all of a sudden the pressure ramped up and he became inaccurate again, missed a bunch of throws. So he's gonna be incrementally better, but will he ever live up to the hype of the first round pick? Well, he already has from an athleticism standpoint, but from playing the position, he's got a long way to go. Way to go.
No, he does for sure. No doubt about it. Johnny Mac, good stuff, brother. Appreciate everybody for being here this morning. We got a great crowd in here this morning. Let's go to a super chat before we get to our main man. Chris Franklin is going to join us. He was I think he slept in yesterday. He had a long week of football. He had a little football hangover. No problem for our man, Chris. Brian Pump says, all these pundits telling Pumper that Jalen had a magical performance, but it cannot be as simple as play zone defense, and he forgets he has wide receivers. No, sir.
Yeah,
he'll just run for first downs every drive.
I can't figure Pumper out. Half of the time he's a unabashed Eagles fan with certain players. He's got the full green tint on. He's got the green Kool-Aid. And then, he doesn't like Jalen. So I can't figure him out. But, well, look, you want the passing game to be better. It feels like we have this question every week. But, he's the reason they won that game. I think the main reason with what he was able to do, extending plays, extending drives, third downs. I thought overall he made good decisions. It was a good decision-making game. But, yeah, I mean, that's always going to stick out to people when AJ and Devontae basically aren't involved. So I guess it depends who you want to blame it on. Most people, I guess, will blame it on Kevin because that's easier. Some will blame it on Jalen. But overall, I thought he played a good game, an effective game, but certainly better with his legs than through the air. But decision-making, I think, was very good.
Good stuff there, Pump. Appreciate the super chat. One more chat here. Fredo Vic, member for 8 months. Thank you, Fredo. Dallas or Kelsey this week? Who's having the bigger game?
Well, Dallas, I don't even know if you never who cares, I would say. Can I say who cares? But no, I want I mean, you never think of the Eagles as a high volume passing team, which I say constantly. So I'm hesitant to ever say anything when it comes to the passing game with the Eagles, and I know people are obsessed with fantasy numbers and all that kind of stuff. Jalen talked about it. Nick talked about it. For this team, it's about efficiency. But I also think because of what happened in week 1 that they'll be more cognizant of getting AJ and Devontae involved, which means probably less for Dallas. So my overalls would be who cares, and Kelsey got hurt, right? I don't know where he is. I haven't looked. So he might, if he's not playing, then I'm going to go with Dallas. But I haven't seen where he is yet this week because nobody's on the practice field yet.